Jin,
Jen.
thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
What was it like growing up in Schaumburg?
It was dull, I would say. A lot of just kind of figuring out like what I wanted to do with myself. I was always like a really, I guess, like artsy kid, just really into clothes and graphic design and just visual things. And yeah, I mean, just a lot of figuring out like who I was in Schaumburg. For sure.
Yeah. What was the exciting thing to do in Schaumburg? Like the only thing I know Schaumburg for is literally IKEA.
IKEA. We would in Schaumburg it would just be either like go over to like a friend's house or Woodfield Mall. That was
Woodfield Mall. That's a good one.
Dude, everyone would just link up at the mall and then yeah, I don't know, just little high school, middle school things. Oh,
Yeah.
The Schaumburg Septemberfest. That was also like always like a crazy thing.
Never heard of that.
It's like a little festival. It's
Okay.
like and just yeah, they got like food and stuff. I don't know why, but everyone would just link up there, take pictures. Yeah.
You hit the Woodfield Mall, right? Like,
Mhm.
what are the 3 stores you're going to? Are you like a GameStop, Abercrombie kind of guy? You're going to Sbarro's? Where are you going?
I think it changed as I got older, but I think like in high school it was always like the Urban Outfitters,
Yeah.
like the Uniqlo, and
Yeah.
then like the sneaker stores. That one like hypebeast store they always had.
Yeah, malls fascinate me. Like,
Yeah.
always have.
Hmm.
You know what? I always feel bad when you're at the mall and you walk past that one store that's not getting any love.
Yeah.
Like, no one's in there. It's Black Friday and every other
Right.
store's packed except for this one.
Mhm.
You know they're probably closing soon.
It's like,
Who were some of your musical influences growing up?
growing up, my parents put me onto like a lot of Queen and Beatles. Although like they listened to like like my parents are immigrants, so they would just listen to like Korean music growing up. And like so I just had this weird like pop like phase when I was like really really little. Just listening to like Katy Perry and Fall Out Boy, and then it just like transpired into like Skrillex in middle school, and then high school it was just like it was a lot of like just like rap and R&B, and I just loved Travis Scott in high school and Kanye and Frank Ocean, just like
Yeah.
the staples of hip hop. And yeah, that was just like my influence, I guess, growing up. And then the SoundCloud era too. That was had a chokehold
What a
on my high
time.
school self. What a time!
Yeah. What years did you go to high school?
It was from 2017 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like pretty prime, slightly back end SoundCloud era.
Yeah.
But yeah, good times nonetheless.
Good times. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of high school, where did you go to high school?
I went to Hoffman Estates High School in Schaumburg.
How was your experience there?
I think, like I said earlier, it was like a identity crisis. Cause like when I was early in high school, I was like, I want to do graphic design, and then I want to like do fashion, and then over quarantine, when quarantine hit midway, it was like I want to do music. And like I think going to school at Hoffman, it was just like this like I really didn't know like who I was for sure, and I don't think anyone does at that age.
No.
But it was like this like the popular loner. I was
Yeah.
really like that archetype, because it was just like I have a lot of friends, but I was also like, I wasn't like like confident in myself, and seeing old pictures of myself, it's like a horror show sometimes.
And that's everybody.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of archetype, like player builds, like the popular loner, that's a very underrated one. No one ever says that one.
Yeah.
But I feel like that exists more than people think.
Yeah. 'Cause, like you could feel like you have so many friends, but then it's also like, is it like,
It's like, this kind of sucks.
is it like authentic? Like it's not really authentic,
And you're like moody in high school anyways.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, everyone's going through it.
What a weird... High school is such a weird thing.
It's a weird thing.
Just like a group of like a few hundred or 1,000 or however many. I don't know how many people went to your high school. My high school was only a few hundred people. And like, just everyone just like aggressive and moody. Only thing worse is middle school. Because middle school, you'll really get bullied in middle school.
Yeah, I got picked on a lot going
As a
up,
27-year-old, if I went to middle school right now, I'd be like self-conscious. I would be like, damn, like they might make fun of me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's unhinged. It's unhinged territory out there.
So at what age did you first start making music?
I grew up playing a lot of instruments, just like very cultural thing for just Asian kids to get into piano and stuff. So I was like in that kind of boat and just playing cello and stuff like that growing up, and then started making beats around like freshman or sophomore year of high school, just like for fun, just on some like cracked FL, like let me just cook up something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, it just like became like a hobby until like like this hobby where it was like super fun, and I was like just really wanting to do it every day. And I guess that's just like eventually it got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm so sick and tired of looking for people to rap over my like shitty beats. Like
Yeah.
I want to do it myself.
Yeah.
So like, little known fact, it's like I was like rapping at first.
Really?
I was like, well, like nobody's heard it, but
Is it out there still?
no, it's not out there.
Okay.
It's like in the vaults. But I did start rapping when I was like 16, and then like after that, it was like I was listening to like the whole like Claro and
Oh, yeah.
Steve Lacy and like just that bedroom pop type of like sound.
Mm-hmm.
So like, after that point, it was like, yeah, I'm gone. Like I'm in that direction.
Yeah. And you were already fluent in like these instruments for the most part.
Mhm, yeah.
What was the artist name? Was it still JYN or?
No, when I first started out, it like I've always had like so many different artist names, and my friends always like kind of like make fun of me for it. Where it's like I've always like I think up to like last year I wasn't JYN. It was like first it was like Brian Leak,
Okay.
like a K at the end, and then like Bearcat, and then it was just all these like random like names that like I'm just too embarrassed to like say.
Did you say Bearcat?
Yeah, Bearcat. That was like a artist
Bear
name.
C-A.
It was
T?
BERICAT. Yeah. That was the artist name that like, cause I think at the time I just did like a random name generator.
Sounds terrifying.
Yeah, that was a rough era of my life. But I released like my first few songs under that name.
Yeah.
And then I think after a point I was like, this doesn't really represent me. And I feel like I don't have like I always feel like my music is evolving over time. So it's like, I feel like I just wanted that kind of name where it can like, is me. Like it's just my name. you
Yeah.
know? So,
Nah, I feel that. I feel like all artists have like a pretty bad batch of first names.
yeah.
So after high school, you ended up attending Columbia.
Mhm.
How was that experience for you?
So I think like going into college, I got into I applied to two schools. I applied to Berkeley, College of Music in Boston, and then Columbia. I got into both, but I was like, I don't got like 80 grand for college, you know? And so like I went to Columbia with the mindset of like, I'm gonna drop out. Because I feel like every kid that goes to that school is very like focused on like something.
Yeah.
So went there for like a few months, did the music program. I didn't really enjoy it. I wasn't like learning. It was just music theory, you know. And I think music theory is like important, but I think that was like my 10th time taking music theory in my life. So I was like, nah. I think once I got the internship at Classics Studio, I was like, yeah, I'm out. Like I'm learning so much more for free here. So I was like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll touch on that a bit more. But I had a funny thought pop in my head. So like I think college is a scam, like regardless, right?
Yeah.
But like when you said like you went to Columbia with intentions of you were probably gonna drop out. Columbia is the biggest scam ever because I feel like it's a crop of like very creative kids like that, and it's like, yo, come to school here, do creative stuff, and I don't know what their dropout rate is, but it's got to be like
it's up there. Yeah.
My guy over here went for 3 months.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be like more than the average institution.
Yeah.
What an interesting place. 70%.
Yeah, it's high.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like they're like cutting programs and it's
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think this year too was like the lowest retention for freshmen. I think it was like the most dropouts, I think.
All right, I'm interested in bro right now. You have student loans? Dude, I went for a year and a half and I still have student loans. So like, bro, if you're 70% dropout rate, they're making so much money just off of like student loan. Oh my God. We're in the wrong business, all of us. We got to figure it out. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, how was the transition for you, right? Moving from Schaumburg to, you know, I'm sure you ended up moving to the South Loop and going to Columbia.
Growing up, like whenever I like went to Chicago, it was always like this feeling of like, oh my God, look at the skyline. You
Like
know,
a
when you're driving,
fascination,
like when you drive on 90 and you see like the whole like view, it's always like this like, whoa, like this is where I want, like, you know, just like that excitement of like, the feeling inside. And so like moving to Chicago over time, like it just became this feeling of like, I feel really comfortable like in being in Chicago. It's like been to like the different neighborhoods, been experiencing different types of like cultures in each part of the city. So it's been like nice for sure to create.
And then you mentioned the internship that you got with Classic Studios. How did all of that come about?
it was like 3 months into my freshman year at Columbia, and my friend Laurent, my roommate at the time, he like um came back from the studio one time, and before like we like kind of met, we like heard a lot about him. Like he's like he does like animation, so he's like really tapped in with like a lot of like bigger artists like
Okay.
in that like time, and so like he was always out and about, and he came home one day from classics, and then he was like, yo, like there's a studio in Chicago, and it's like there's a bunch of Filipinos there. And I was just like, and you know, I guess like in the music scene, like in Chicago, sometimes like when you look at studios like in different regions, it can be like very like one or the other.
Okay.
And so, like in terms of like genres and like the people that like work there. So like that kind of like sentiment of like, whoa, like I didn't even know like that like scene like existed. Like those
Yeah.
like there's like a community of like that.
Mhm.
And so like I just kind of was like, am I even old enough to like intern? Like I didn't even know at the time because I was like 19, 18.
Mhm.
So I just kind of like sent a resume to Darwin, and then yeah, the rest was history after that. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I did not think you were gonna go the Filipino route right there.
Shout out to Filipinos.
Yeah, definitely big shout out. That's
Yeah.
funny. So in general, I think that Classic's like a very important figure in Chicago's music industry. What is your relationship like with him now?
Yeah, he's definitely like he was always like this kind of like secondary like music father figure that I always had. Like he has so much wisdom, and I remember I used to be really scared of him when I like started interning, because you know it's just like this like I love Smino like in high school, so it was like going to like the studio, and it was like he was always like this really intimidating guy.
I
But
would
then,
say Chris is intimidating.
yeah, right. He doesn't play around with like the silly stuff. So like when like I guess like the more I got to know him over the internship, I think like it really made me like feel more at ease, and like our working relationship, like he really believed in like my music, and so I think like right now like we're kind of in this like working relationship where
Yeah.
he's helping me out, kind of push my music out there and giving me the resources and studio time for it. So yeah, he's a guy that I look up to a lot.
Yeah. And like just a unique situation overall. I think you rarely ever hear of someone like interning at a studio and then getting signed by the person who runs that studio. Like just the transition between those two just kind of fascinated me.
Yeah, it was weird because like I remember actually talking about it with Rob, like that like, bro, like I used to like work for you, and now you're like working for me. It's just like this weird thing, because I remember when I first, actually my first day on the internship, like I walked in the studio, and I like he was the first guy that I met, like he was running a session at the time. So it was just like this like progression over time, and I think it's like this really good like mutual respect and trust between me and the studio, because it's like I know what it's like to like work there, and like I know like how to respect people, because
Absolutely.
yeah, I've been on the flip side of it, you know?
Yeah. You know what I think it is too about Chris, like the intimidating factor, is he texts dry as hell, and I also text pretty dry. So like so when I text, it can come off like a certain type of way because I'm not trying, like I don't put a lot of like punctuation or emojis or whatever or like life into it, and he's the same way. I was texting with him earlier today, and I was like looking at our thread, I'm like, we look like we don't like it. Like it's just a weird
I was gonna say the group chat we had, like he just said have a good interview period. I was like, yo,
that aggressive ass period, what the fuck is that?
Shout out Chris.
Passive aggressive period. That's funny. So I saw that These Days recently created a mini doc about you. How was that experience for you?
You know, like doing interviews, like it's weird kind of talking about myself.
True.
For people, it's like, what do you want to know about me? You know, like I'm you know, I'm an awkward guy, and so like I guess opening up about like where I've come from, and like the few people that like care about those things like in an artist, I think like that's like what I admire, is like building that connection with people. So it was like it was a great experience working with Jared and These Days and everyone at the team. It was just like really, they made me feel really comfortable and like brought me out of my like shell about it.
Yeah, no, they're really good with that sort of stuff. I like the way that they document certain things too.
Yeah.
But part of the mini doc, and kind of, you know, led up into the end, is you recently released your new EP Bittersweet a few weeks ago. What was the creation process of that project like?
Yeah, it was a project that I like didn't intend on necessarily like writing. I think after I released my first EP, it was like this position I was in where it was like I don't know what I want to do. I always go through like this identity crisis after like I put out a project. It's like I'm gonna just listen to like a lot of different music, and I feel like I kind of treat myself like I'm like the sponge, and I just whatever I listen to, it's like I always soak it in and just think about like the different things I can take away from different genres and everything. So when I like wrote the project, it was like I was going through like a really rough relationship, and it was just like this. I just wanted like an outlet at the time. So, and it just happens. I was listening to hella like Queens of Stone Age, The Strokes, and yeah, it was just music was like there for me when I was at my worst, and yeah, that's just it was like a natural creative process throughout the entirety of it, and kind of like midway through it, I kind of really reconnected with Chris again, and he really believed in it. And then after the rest of the project, it was like working with the studio on it and kind of taking like a lot of the weight off my shoulders, where it was like doing everything by yourself can be like a burden sometimes.
Do you have a personal favorite song off of the project?
I really like the ending of Doesn't It Feel So Lonely? It's like I just like went like a full Kanye like moment on there, like just like the like his older projects for sure, like like really like his heavy distortion usage and like all that stuff, like that was like my favorite moment of the project. But I love Hate This Feeling too as well. That's like it's like a perfect song to me, like just where I'm like really proud of it.
Get to know you question. What's your favorite SpongeBob episode?
Favorite SpongeBob episode? I used to watch a lot of SpongeBob growing up. I'm trying to think. I always like have this like special like nostalgia connection with like the SpongeBob movie, the one where like
people say that a lot.
Yeah, like because I feel like that's like I've watched it like over and over again, growing up. So it was like that was my like jam growing up.
How old are you?
20.
Okay, I'm 27. I think my connection with the SpongeBob movie is I feel like that's when my childhood ended. You know, like I'd watched SpongeBob for so many years, and by the time the movie came out in 2004, okay, was it 2004?
I was 2004.
Unless you think your childhood ended
Let
in
me see.
2015.
No, hang on. I feel like I remember being older, but honestly, I guess it maybe stands. So let's say like I was 9 or like 10 or so when I saw that movie. You know, I'm watching SpongeBob for all these years. The movie drops, and then that's about the age you start getting off cartoons a little bit, maybe getting to sports or whatever else you get into.
Some grown ass shit, yeah.
Some grown ass, yeah. Isn't it funny when you're a kid, you just want to be an adult so bad?
Yeah.
And now we're here and we're just like, fuck.
You know, I still sometimes feel that way though. It's like I get so caught up where it's like maybe like something didn't go the way I wanted it to, like in terms of like my career, or maybe something didn't happen. Like, you know, just like when things are out of control, you can get really upset about it. But like I always remind myself, like talking to everyone, it's always like, dude, you're 20. You got like 10, 15 years, like chill out. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. You know, it's like I always get so caught up in like those things, and sometimes I like treat myself like I'm like an adult. And I'm like, I mean, I could still act crazy for like a couple more years. You know?
I like that thought process actually. I used to feel the same, and I still feel the same a little bit. Because even like my dad, like I asked him a question the other day, and I was like, I need an adult's opinion, and he goes, Elliot, you are an adult, and I said, no, like a real adult, you know. So I feel that same process. You're just a little younger, but when I was younger, when I was like 19, 20, I used to look at like people that were like 28, 29, like 30, especially working in music. I used to be like, man, like they're done, like it's over. And now I'm 27. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, I'm gonna be 34. I know it. I work in music, like I'm that guy that like I would once look at and think like, oh, they're not on shit, you know?
Yeah, and it's also weird for me because it's like a lot of like my industry, like people that like I'm really I can call like my close friends and stuff. It's like they're all older than me by like 5, 10, 15 years. So it's like a lot of like wisdom is gained and like lessons learned of like what they could have done better that you can take.
Absolutely. And that's a good spot for you to be in. Because like when I told you how I interned for Chance earlier, same thing. I was like 18 and everyone was like 25 to 30. So I was able to soak in a lot of stuff. That's even kind of how Noah is here. Like we're all in our late 20s and he's like 19. So it works out. 2 more questions.
Okay.
Who are some artists that you want to work with in the future?
Some artists I would love to work with. For sure, Paris, Texas. Love those guys. Went to like their show, amazing show.
At Lincoln Hall?
Oh yeah, Lincoln
Yep.
Hall. Yeah, it was one of my favorite shows I've ever been to. So like, and their music just so fun.
I love
the
them.
visuals too.
They were here that day. We did
Yeah.
an interview.
Mhm.
I gifted them a Paris, Texas DVD.
Mhm.
They threw it on the ground. It kind of hurt. It was one of those moments where like, I was like, I didn't expect it to go like that. But watching it back, it's funny.
Yeah, they're funny as hell. You know, I love them. Yeah, good guys. Look up to them. I've always loved Yeek growing up.
He's been here too.
Yeah, he's an artist that like really kind of speaks to me on a personal level of just like do whatever the hell you want to do because it's like his old music, like his top song was like my shit, and I can feel that way where it's like my top song sometimes it's like it's not where I'm at now. It's like I'm a different person, and I can relate to that kind of struggle because he hates like his top song. I think like from what I've seen and like heard, like he never performs it. He doesn't like it. But just like his new direction and like his kind of career like over the years, like it's always like an artist that like I really love and would love to like work with and just cook up for fun and get to talk to him, you know. So yeah, those are like some artists that I would love to work with.
I feel like the top song thing is interesting. I feel like most of it is because a lot of times artists will get defined off of their top song.
Right.
Or people will expect more of this specific type of sound or like want them. It's like when Post Malone released like White Iverson. It's like, you know, some people probably still really love that song, but like I'm sure he hates that song at this point. And it's like, I'd rather perform anything other than this. So, do you feel that way about your top song?
Yeah, I remember like I was more critical about it like before. Definitely now it's more of like this. I've become to like accept it for like what it was and like I don't like resent it as much being like my top song.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was like it's a goal still for me to kind of like want to beat that song. I want to like make something new that like takes it over, you know. But yeah, you know, what can you do? You're an artist. Your music isn't yours anymore when it's out. So.
That's a bar. I like that. All right. Last question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I honestly have no idea. I would say like in 5 years, I think like I could be like still fighting for like to like come out like being successful, whatever success is. But I think like where I'd want to be in 5 years is like writing. I want to do a lot of like industry work, like behind the scenes stuff. Like I want to like songwrite for people. I want to like maybe like, you know, like the whole like I was actually talking about it with Rob too, the Young Lean, like how he ended up on like Blonde. Like I just want to do that where it's like I just end up on like some random like artist's like record because I just love different music, you know. So just want to like work for different people and try different things and just expand my knowledge and, you know, just make an income, be like that, like I can be comfortable with. I think that's always the goal with music. Just the comfort, but also like challenging yourself like based off that foundation of like I can like go home and have a meal and, you know, live as an artist, but I can like challenge myself through my career and stuff.
Beautiful.